other improve your performance. And I know one of the big goals around making things even better right now are around visual presentations and how we communicate research findings and the work we're doing in the department and the work that's, a lot of the great work that's happening on the 5th floor. So there's a multi-pronged intervention happening to help you guys up the department's game around visual presentations. And Pam and I had a brief chat about supporting faculty to do that as well. And there's some generalizable skills about how we help each other up our games about everything, not just visual presentations. So you're going to be getting a bit of a mix around the whole visual presentation theme and then the general support, collegial support and coaching theme. Before we start, I'm aware that I have not had a chance to meet all of you or understand the projects you have the closest proximity to. So can we just do a quick whip around, and I'm going to just take quick notes here to remind myself of names and projects.
I'm hosting and working as research coordinator for health chemistry.
Wonderful.
You know me, but I'm Jessica, and I'm currently working on old health tapestry, old chapstick, and current
Wow.
Philippines.
That is a service to keep getting those things finished. Yes, thank you.
I'm Jenna. I work with Dina Deeper and also work with Gina on CP projects.
This is great because I don't know what everyone's doing on which project. So.
Oh, and a waiting room study. I think that is hopefully being published.
Oh, awesome. Anything you want to claim today, Dee? No?
I work with Lisa on SAP, and then I also work with Gina on team. Laura, research operations, but I know a little bit about most of the project.
Yeah, there you go. Hopefully. the quiz at the end will do.
I'm Susanna Rosebush, and I'm an knowledge broker for the SHAP program.
Great. I didn't even know we had a knowledge broker, so there you go. This is good for me. Okay, excellent.
My name is Andrea Dyson, and I'm a research assistant with the CP Gina, and I'm working on the
CCHAMP. My goodness, the acronyms you guys throw around on the 6th floor.
Jennifer, and I work on music.
Stephanie, and I'm primarily working with tapestry, but one day I'm helping with the Jenny experience care packet. And I work on IGAP and
ICANN. Okay. Now, so Pam and Casey I know as well. Okay, first question. If we had quizzed everyone on the table, do you know what everyone else is working on? Or do you get sort of reminded as you hear it too? A little bit? Pardon? The latter, yeah, okay. Well, that makes me feel better. And does everyone know what every one of those acronyms mean? Did anyone hear an acronym they didn't know?
No, we usually do.
ICANN.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Improving adaptive planning and knowledge new project. Dr. John used the lead and Michelle as co-lead. I just had a poster at KFM on that project.
Oh, nice. Speaking of visual presentation, there's someone who needs to be doing some coaching. That's great. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Let's dive in. So, first, enter, down button. What's the protocol?
There we go.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the one and only Mentimeter question of today. Everyone has devices mostly. Just go up to This is the question. Play too. Does anyone need a phone? I can use my device. Pass it around. Pass it around. So some people have entered more than one, correct? Except more than one. So someone could share a device with you if you haven't had a chance to weigh in. Thank you. All right. So this group, I don't think has been quite as traumatized as some groups I've worked with. The biggest word has actually some nice concepts in them: positive, constructive, strength, all of which is great. Anything surprising about that picture to anyone? It's a mixed bag, eh? I actually think there are a few more terrifying phrases than "can I give you some feedback?" Certainly that's not an invitation to others to be pleasant. But I think what this picture gets at, and what we know that's the most helpful about feedback when it's done in the very best way is that it is an opportunity to learn something new. It's an opportunity to develop, to grow, to improve, to move in the direction that we want, to sort of have more than what we started with in the very best way. So there are many, many ways to offer feedback or to offer direction and support, to support growth, to support moving in the direction that you want. And I think gaining the confidence to do that and the sort of the sense that it's desirable to give and receive is a huge part of a great workplace and the magnificent output and showcasing that we want our department to be doing about all the great research that's going on. So I'm actually really pleased to see that the overall way that this group carries the word feedback is actually pretty darn good. So we don't have a lot of de-traumatizing to do, and in fact we could probably build on this very easily. What are you thinking?
I was going to say, so you were saying picturing it as getting feedback. I was picturing giving feedback.
Awesome.
Which makes it more positive.
You like giving it better than getting it? So that's an interesting observation. I wonder if that's true for other people. And other people resonate with that? Funner to give than receive.
So did you respond as giving or receiving?
Oh, I was picturing giving.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I like giving it when it's positive and receiving it when it's positive. I think I'm pretty clear on the two ends of the equation. So what I'm going to actually move us to thinking about today is a way of understanding feedback that's very, very intensely shaped by a goal. And that form of thinking about or approaching feedback in some circles is actually referred to more as coaching than feedback. So let me switch over to see if I can make the seamless transition to the PowerPoint.
Try the one on the right.
Oh, that's not here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. Presentation view. Showing on a Windows version here.
Yeah.
There you go. So here's coaching. The definition of coach has some critical elements. So the person in the coaching role is supporting a learner, a client, or a colleague. So there's a clear sense of support. The coach is there to help movement toward a desired goal. So it's support, it's a specific goal, and there's training and guidance to it. So those three things are really, really crucial for the framework of feedback that we're going to refer to today as coaching. I think coaching is a great bang for the buck because the starting premise is that both people are on the same team wanting to talk about the same thing with guidance and support. So for upping our game around visual presentations, I'm going to suggest the coaching model is the way to go. And at some point in the future, the hope is that you will be each other's coach in improving your visual presentation skills. So people who've worked with me before know that I really love the metaphor of the triangle in many situations involving working with other people. So in the coaching model, the strongest part of the triangle is you and your partner, the coachee, your colleague, your co-conspirator. It's someone that you are in partnership with towards the goal, which may be improving visual presentation, which is sort of the focus of today, but actually could be about absolutely anything. The critical part is that you and the person getting feedback or that you're working with or coaching, you're on the same page, you're on the same team. Your number one priority is that person. It's side by side. You're looking at a project or an issue or an idea, but you're shoulder to shoulder together looking at that thing. And ideally, there's a relationship of trust already, but even if it's someone you don't know very well, if both of you are clear on the project and you're clear that you want to be working together on it, that will start to form a foundation of trust, even with someone that you're just getting to know. So mentally, I always think of me and the other person. The triangle is always about me and another person or another group, and we're literally side by side facing something together. This really works well even in conflict or disagreement or difference. If you have a sense that the two of you are side by side and wanting to figure this thing out, it works a lot better than if you align this way. Okay, I'm the expert about X, Y, or Z, and I'm going to tell you what to do. So if the triangle is tilting this way, and you're aligning with what you think is truth, or it's you trying to change the other person, or you're somehow using everything you know about that to change that, the coaching model breaks down. So the most important part is that just that sense of alignment with the other person about the thing, not you ganging up with the thing to change the other person. Does that make sense? Any comments about that alignment or that way of thinking about moving forward? All right, we'll keep moving. So that base of the triangle that I just showed you really speaks to that first part of the coaching model. A coach supports a learner or client or colleague. It's really about the other person. Then, once that base is there, then you start talking about the goal and the supporting values. So, that alignment between you and partner is the most important thing. So when you're considering how that base of the triangle gets set, you may want to, you know, it's important to pay attention to, if someone solicited your input, is the base already set by an agreement that coaching's going to happen? And again, the power of saying to someone, hey, I'd really love you to go over this paper I've written. I'd love your input. Way more effective learning, way more effective calibration than, oh, I happen to see this paper you wrote and I think you need some feedback on it. Right? Just, you may actually end up saying the exact same thing, but how it'll be experienced and received is extremely different. So to sort of know that a coaching moment's going to happen and have that arranged in advance is really important. So I want to just take a moment, and maybe you can just break into groups of 3, and just think about the work you do and the traveling through your life here in the Department of Family Medicine. I want the 3 of you in your little group to brainstorm and come up with 5 things you could imagine receiving coaching about in your work. So everyone can have a freebie, visual presentation. So now you only have to do 4. So you want to just cluster just in groups of 3 or 4 and quickly talk about things you could imagine getting some coaching about in the work that you do. Group of, gotcha, yeah.
I was thinking right myself as well. Something that we want to get feedback on important things.
Oh, that I get a help I don't think I have what did I say? Oh, yeah.
I think like managing heavy workloads. Difficult. Yeah, we just get someone else's perspective who is
Oh, it's also this one. Yeah. Instead of going in.
All right, I'll just call, just in the interest of time, I'm going to call you back, and we're going to just we'll do a whip around, so I'll ask each group to name a thing, and if your thing's already been named from someone else, name something different, and we'll just whip till we've heard all the ideas. So what did you guys say?
Writing a paper.
Writing a paper, great. Next.
Meetings, workshops.
Meetings / workshops.
Yeah.
A twofer, okay. Meetings and workshops, yeah.
Delivery of oral presentation.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Facilitating communication.
Any particular setting?
So we talked about interviewing people.
Okay, like interviews, yeah, perfect.
Facilitating conversation.
Group facilitation. Those guys just snuck in free. That was like, that was sneaky. How? What is it? Where does that leave you guys?
Interpreting data.
Mm-hmm.
The multitasking time management.
Yeah. Yep. Anything else new?
For writing style, so for an informal audience, for a formal audience, or for a journal.
Right. Writing styles, yeah.
Team building?
Team building? Covered? Mostly covered in
Visual presentation.
Ah, there you go. Bonus point.
Yeah.
Any other new things over here?
We just had meeting conduct, but like conducting myself
Mm-hmm. Effective meeting conduct. That's the kind of thing you'd love to give other people feedback on. All right, excellent. Okay, these are great suggestions. Taking notes.
Yes, I mean the first two.
Yeah, I'll get those to you. So awesome suggestions. I agree. All those, and in fact, a lot of these have almost even gotten to the point where you could name those as a goal that you could easily get coaching on. Either, you know, take the meeting example. If you're running a meeting, pretty easy to say to someone, "Can you watch me for the first 5 minutes of the meeting to see how it goes?" Because my goal is having everyone engaged at the beginning. So very quickly, you've got a goal, someone's watching you, and then the trick would be to give you some guidance and support at the end of the meeting. There you go. There's some skill building that's happened very quickly on the fly. So great ideas to think of sort of inserting as intentional mini coaching moments that really apply to your work. So we talked about the support or the learner-client coach relationship. The next thing that's really important is the specific personal or professional goal. Some of the things you could see receiving coaching on, you'd want to refine a bit more into a specific goal, and that's why even when you said facilitating communication, okay, so what would that look like in a goal statement in terms of what, when, where, and what would your goal be that you want your coach to give you feedback about? So, you know, a great coach will help actually refine the goal before anything else happens. And then there's usually some performance. There's a paper to be written, a meeting to be run, a presentation to be watched. And then in relation to the goal you set, how is the coach helping give you direction and guidance? So those are the three critical elements, and you can see they all lead to very specific feedback. So having someone tell you from out of the blue that you're supposed to be different in some way or consider changing something in some way, I think those are the moments that are the most jarring or off-putting or feel the most threatening. We looked at the word cloud. It's often when you get blindsided with something that either you didn't care about or you didn't know was an issue, that's when feedback can actually feel the toughest and can erode trust a bit. It's occasionally necessary for a variety of reasons that you guys know to give or receive that kind of feedback, but really in a great workplace, it's more the culture of ongoing development, performance development, and that's really a lot more about coaching, about working towards something specific with someone who has your development at heart toward a specific goal that you both see has validity and that you care about and is worth putting a bit of time into. So that the specificity of the goal is really important. So then we have training and guidance. And what's interesting about this process is that you're getting training and guidance to be better consumers and creators of presentations in the hopes that you'll then also be better coaches to each other about that work. So wanting to support someone, identifying a goal, and then being able to help improve performance does depend a bit on your expertise. So a great coach is going to obviously have expertise or ability in the area that they're coaching someone on. Ideally, it sort of depends on what the content area is. So I want you to just consider quickly, when you think of things you're good at, personally or professionally, what could you be a coach about? So, for instance, I could coach a novice into the basics of understanding single malt whiskey, how to raise a multi-cat, how to successfully run a multi-cat household, and how to run an effective meeting. I would consider myself having expertise in all those three things if that was of coaching interest to anyone. And there's probably a few other I could add to my list. But I realize one of the things we don't always know in the department is who has the kind of expertise that we could access for things that we might be interested in learning more about. So I'm going to just get you to jot down 3 things quickly in your own mind about your own life, personal, professional, that you could imagine offering a bit of coaching on, and then we'll just quickly run around and hear about 1 or 2 of them. All right, Casey, we're going to start with you.
Sure. Do you want all 3 or 1, 2?
Why don't we just do 1? We'll do whip around
Okay.
for me. 1 for each.
So writing.
Writing.
What's the first one?
Excellent. Okay.
I could probably teach you how to dance.
Dan Husky. Wow.
Data management.
Oh.
I like the first one about like guitar.
Ah. Jennifer?
I can plan a good vacation.
Awesome.
I guess I'll pick freestyle skating and hockey. Love some great stuff.
Oh.
And professional ones, online speaking, different ones.
Oh, wow. Very handy skill.
I'll teach you how to. I could begin with starting a garden.
Huh? Day 1 of a garden I could do too, but that's sort of the end of it. Exactly.
Being organized and including organizing a household with a boy. Nice and busy. Talking to people.
I'm going to go with editing, both academic papers or fantasy or romance novels.
I went to go with Christmas literature review.
Cool. Okay, we're going to do 1 more quick whip around. If you chose a professional one the first time, share personal and vice versa. Oh, I shared 3 off the top of my head. Don't get me started.
So I had lap steel guitar as a personal one.
I had planning and projects last time mentioned.
Feeding a 5-year-old.
That's a good specific goal.
So I think guiding perspective. I think visual presentations are work really well with PowerPoint and going animations and make sure everyone's still paying attention to the gauge.
Awesome.
Ask me how to do the house now.
Ah, cool.
I didn't do any professional ones. Teach you all about from conducting to coding interviews. Project management. I'm still technically in the switching which is up more and more. But connecting researchers and clinicians around getting relevant, and I think that's relevant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Depending on how you do.
My name's combo, but I'll go, could be combo, training adult volunteers.
So convincing university girls to do something.
My life as a coach, yeah. Awesome. Well, actually, I heard a few things you would like to receive coaching about and a few things that people feel they're good at coaching on. So there's some natural connections already. Okay, so this is stating a bit of what we've sort of been exploring already. So knowing a part of coaching is having expertise and the sort of ability to offer something meaningful. We have someone who's actually declared coaching expertise around visual presentations, which is an awesome resource for this particular activity. But in a sense, all of us have invested some time recently in improving our coaching ability around this topic area. So we had the session with Dr. Kim. There's going to be an exercise in looking at a video of a presentation and critiquing it and using a specific framework to improve your vocabulary and your eye around a visual presentation. And you can use that to, in a sense, coach yourself by reviewing a presentation that you've done. And ideally, what we're hoping is it'll become quite normal to offer coaching to someone else. So in the capacity of the coaching resource in this group is improving with all those interventions. And the goal, of course, is that all of this work help improve the better presentations. So you will be doing presentations in your work, having more of an expert eye and using some a framework to apply it, and then again, receiving coaching from someone else. So your individual skills are being improved, and then your ability to offer that to someone else. And actually, one of the greatest things about coaching is that doing it is always a two-way learning activity. So in helping someone else get better at directing university-age adults, inevitably you learn something yourself about how you do that and how you might improve it. So it's a lovely salutary circular relationship when that alignment happens between a coach and a person receiving coaching, because it's always in two directions. It's always learning in both ways. So remember the triangle, that base with you and your partner and the coaching project. I'll just show you another guidance tool that's a bit broader than the visual presentations rubric that you'll be using. And this is a coaching tool that we've used over the department in the last 20 years. Does it look familiar to anyone? Have you seen this?
That's just
Oh yeah, thank you. So that again, this is just another way of forming a relationship with someone toward a desired goal and providing direction and guidance. So the four categories in this model are, again, once a goal has been set, you would watch a performance or plan a performance or read a paper or do whatever the activity is, and then this is a way of offering guidance and support, is using the continue, start, consider, or stop. So we've already talked about, I'll show you how this would work with a real life setting. So if my goal is to have more effective meetings with staff, I would tell my coach that this is my goal. And again, the more specific, the better. Can you watch the first 10 minutes of the meeting or watch the meeting? And then when I review the meeting with my coach, this is the kind of specific feedback that they're going to offer me to for my sort of guidance and direction. So the things that they would suggest I continue would be things that I did well. You know, we started on time, there was an agenda in advance, and we ended on time. So obviously, to improve my performance, I don't want to lose the things that are already working well. But perhaps I need to start including the group more at the beginning, eliciting their thoughts on the agenda, asking if there's anything else, just going to the group more. And then something to consider. Maybe it's not that it's right or wrong, but my coach notices that my style is very formal. I sort of have the agenda and I move through that very formulaic, and that may reduce the engagement of the group.
So something the coach thinks, maybe you should consider a check-in. Maybe you want everyone in the group to speak before you get down to work. So that's a helpful thing for me to consider, because all I've ever thought was, I have to get through the agenda, I must run the meeting. And then the last piece of feedback is really the coach is suggesting that I should not be the first one to speak to an agenda item. If my goal is to improve meetings and engagement, then maybe I should speak at the end or not at all. And notice how much I'm speaking and speak less, basically. So that would be a coaching session that would include some of what we talked about on that first slide, right? Constructive feedback. But using this tool, I think, reduces some of the threat, because my goal is to have better meetings, and I have someone I trust who's watching me perform a meeting, and then we can have a great discussion about all of the elements of that, what to hold on to, what to do more of, and then maybe what to redirect or consider adding in. So that framework is a bit more general around, some of the things that you guys could imagine getting coaching on. This framework would help you improve your performance on those without needing any other specialized tools. It sort of addresses some of the calibrations and the changes that you would consider in relation to your own performance. So that was all I had. So before, I'll just review this, the rubric idea in a bit more detail, but I'm just going to stop and check in with you guys about whether this seems to have relevance for your work, or ways that you can imagine incorporating some more just on-the-fly coaching. Any thoughts about all this?
I was looking at tools. I think I do like that, because I don't usually ask people beforehand to give me feedback, like prepare them. But I feel like if you ask after, they're kind of just like, yeah, it's pretty good. And there's one thing that I was like, yeah, I know I was looking at the screen a lot, like stuff I already knew. So I think that's a good strategy to give them this rubric, and also because there's the 4 quadrants report, to say, like, it reminds the reviewer to give you some positive feedback too. It's not just like change this, change that. It kind of makes them have to think that you're also not like sad after being like, oh my gosh, this is all stuff I have to say. So yeah, I actually really like that. I've never seen that before.
Well, and I think the best feedback you get as a learner, someone who wants to improve, is feedback related to a thing you've stated you want to improve about. So the invitation to a mentor or coach, can you give me feedback on my presentation, will elicit probably potentially more general, less helpful comments than, I've been working on my presentation and I really want feedback on how well I've engaged the audience. Notice everything I'm doing that you think works for or against that. So now your mentor's really zoned in on your relationship with the audience, and you're likely to get much more helpful, specific commentary, because you've been specific in the request for commentary. So I think that the coaching model is really, it's almost both sides share equal responsibility for the specificness of the goal, and then the specificness of the performance and support towards the goal. So I love your comment, because I think it really highlights the opportunities on both sides of the equation.
In writing critique, like outside work, we've done something kind of like this without having the formal grid, which is kind of like a sandwich method. Mm-hmm. So you will say something positive, and then the bulk of it, the critique, the constructive criticism, what could be changed, and then at the end it also finishes with something positive. So sometimes in email or in a discussion, that can get kind of 2 sides of things without seeming mean.
Front-loading the mean. Have you ever received a sandwich feedback?
I have often received a sandwich feedback, definitely in writing critique, because all my regular writing group is trained in the sandwich method.
Right. Which part of the sandwich do you go to first?
Do I go for?
Yeah. When you. What does your I stand for first?
Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, what needs to be changed?
Yeah.
But at least
it softens it a bit. There is some literature in sort of whatever education or performance change, is that the best ratio of reinforcing to corrective feedback is 4 to 1. So in general,
it's actually surprisingly motivated to tell people to continue something that's already working well. And our eyes are often trained for the what hasn't or what needs to be fixed. Performance actually improves with a high ratio of reinforcing feedback. So it's interesting to experiment with how it feels to look to be as specific as possible for what has been effective, just as you would be very specific about what might need to be changed.
Another question. So the start or do more category seems not equivalent. Like they can make two different things. So for me, start means that's something you commit. If you're not doing it, you make benefits.
Yeah.
Like it almost seems like it's a consider.
Yep. I think the quality of that can sometimes be in either quadrant. You're absolutely right. Sometimes someone has had a nudge of something that's really working, and amplifying it is a really good strategy too. Yeah.
Also, to keep track of what you're doing right so that you don't let it go.
Yeah.
If someone's saying, "Oh, you really have to fix this," you might also bring it out.
Overcorrect. Yeah.
So if someone can identify for you what's really working, then preserve that or amplify it.
I really like the triangle, which I've seen before, but I like the working together. I also really like having something that is tangible and objective and outside of the person, so that when people are working together, ideally, as you said, I mean, both people are feeling good about what they're contributing to, and they have a shared goal in trying to create something that makes a difference. So that framing, I think, I like that word.
And the framing is always, first of all, the goal, as specific as possible, and then some of these ancillary things, a rubric, a grid, can sort of add additional framing. I would say the non-negotiable framing that is the goal, because in the absence of that, it's a lot easier to stray into territory that isn't going to speak to what a person needs, or it can be much more about the person giving the feedback than the person eliciting it. Like there's much more dangerous territory if it's not goal-driven feedback. And actually, our move to sort of competency-based training, I think, is a move to try to name more explicitly sort of goals and outcomes that are very specific and not global. You're good or you're bad. It's sort of you're aiming to have the best performance in a wide variety of things. We look at your performance here. Here's where you're at, and here's how we help you move to the next step. So it's very about the performance and not about the person.
I also like the language of training and guidance documents. So when we talk about this document, instead of being called a feedback form, we can call it training and guidance.
Yeah.
So that it, again, reinforces that this is all about training and guidance. It's all about how are we going to do what we're doing, what's our goal, but then how do we...
Yeah.
It's a training document.
Yeah, and you may actually add, all of the ways of improving a visual presentation are many. There may be a specific goal that a person's working on, right? Like the use of visual aids or tables or ratio of text to visual is one very specific goal in a presentation, but that may be different than accurately translating the data into facts, like the content part. So even having goal-directed starting points for what you're improving with might help this too.
Yeah. So the group hasn't seen this before.
Okay.
So you had a slide where you talked about that one there.
Yeah.
So maybe in the creating better presentation, Casey, do you want to speak to what this is and its source?
Yeah.
So can I pause there just because I might sneak out to
yeah,
be in my clinic now? Is that all right? And then let you finish that part?
Yes.
Sorry, a jagged interruption here, but I'm slightly late for clinic, so I'm going to leave you to finish this part. Thank you very much for participating. There's some very cool ideas here.
Thank you very much.
I'm very happy to coach coaches anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think that there'll probably be a few updates to this based on some of the things Kathy talked about today, but just so that we have an understanding of what it is. On the back side is a rubric that Joe Kim passed along to us. And so it breaks things down to these 6 main categories, and then just allows for a way to kind of weigh 2 different ways there, to measure the sort of like strengths of the presentation and areas that might need a little more attention. The front side has a space that a coach can make pointed feedback about specific parts of the presentation, so specific slides if they notice a typo or had a certain question about a specific slide. There's a space to catalog that. On the right, we have a series of prompts just so that if you're sort of stuck on what types of things you might want to be looking for, that will help remind you. And then finally, above the prompt, there is a space to just confirm that we're using the right template with all the proper logos and Twitter handles and whatnot. Yeah.
So was everybody at the Joe Kim presentation? Was everybody able to make it to that? So when you see the training about a presentation, he showed us a map and a framework for actually developing the presentation. And then he didn't get a chance to review this rubric, but that's where we got it from. And there's a couple of ways in which you can use this. One is you're going to use that framework to develop the content. And then when you get into the design and delivery, that's where you would want to look to see, okay, so how is this? So you can actually use this tool as you're developing your presentation to sort of say, you know, have I used the data, like how's the data being presented? So almost like a little bit of a checklist. And then you could actually engage a coach and sort of say, this is what I'm working on, and they could use this form and work with you to look at your presentation. Mm-hmm. What we're hoping, but we really want to see happen is for those of you who have been asked to do a presentation, either FMF or NAPCRIC, or even ASTO, that all of the staff would take this opportunity to practice their presentation. So we did that a bit last year, and we just really kind of want to formalize it, but we've now got a tool that's evidence-informed. So we're actually going to be looking at our presentation based on what do we know are effective. And then we can do that in small groups, we can do it in pairs, but those supports are available. And I think we'll just put that guidance in terms
of. I also think it could be useful, this rubric, in terms of talking about the goals of the coaching, because I think that a lot of this that's in the rubric could be what those goals might be for what you're looking to get out of working with a coach on a presentation as well. Yeah.
I wonder if, so I see a bit of the visual here, but since I or my teams are sending 2 posters, I wonder if there's any more detail for poster presentation that could be turned in.
Yeah, posters are on the hit list of how do we work on our posters.
Yeah. I think that if it's a poster where you're standing there and presenting it as well, then there's probably some things here that you can still rehearse how you're going to give a 30-second, a 1-minute, a 2-minute version of that.
I'm just sending the posters.
So
Okay.
you're just sending them, and then they're going to be, because
somebody else is doing it.
Really what you want from that poster, and this did come up in the Joe Kim presentation, is you want to be able to attract people to the poster. They want to know what you're really trying to, like, what was the question, what's the answer, how do they use it, and then it's actually going to point them, hopefully, back to the website where they can get the full publication or talk to the PI who's led that research if there's anybody standing there. So Because I don't know what, but when I see those posters, I am overwhelmed by the number of words, and because they try and get everything in there, and it's just like, what's the bottom line? Like, what's the takeaway message here? So the more we can try and crystallize that, I think the more we'll get the more people will get out of it, and the more interaction we will have with them.
I think some of the visual points ahead of the research, like looking at the books and the maps and the tables.
And I don't know. It probably in part also depends on does the conference give requirements for their posters beyond it has to be this size and fit on the thing. Do they, how much do they specify needs to be included, and how do we meet those requirements? Does anybody have any questions? Do people kind of get a sense of where we're going and how we're trying to support the group and once we do complete, we'll let you know where it is.
We do have some time reserved. I've walked to meeting room 5 a number of times leading up to the NAPFEG and FMF presentations. So we'll just share out when those are, and as people prepare their presentations, we can arrange to make sure that there's an opportunity to practice them in that space with an audience as well.
The other thing we thought we didn't have time to do, since we had Kathy, we wanted to really take advantage, sounds like the wrong maximize on the opportunity to have Kathy with us. But Casey and
Alex found the.
Oh, did Alex? Okay,
Yeah.
so Alex found a 6-minute video. So if you wanted to actually apply this and try it, so we'll send that link out. We can get together at lunch and try it together. You can do it on your own, or but just to give you a sense of, or an attempt at watching a presentation and evaluating it. It's just an opportunity to do that. So I think that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, she's made one also, and the fact that she's actually like the whole professional development coaching space for glass and graduate and coaching operations. She's very good. I've experienced student coaching and when we were in our paper start, they should call people coming over together. I got to see watch them and see what you watch, watch the way I run the group meeting, it's just incredibly positive experience because we take a goal. I give them information, and by giving them information, I build trust that other teams receive, their needs. But it's very interesting. And I'll be asking you to come into my people. That's understand.
I have a quick question or comment. So when I was doing a few presentations in the past year, with Laura's help, I helped, or I got a group together who was really looking at our presentation. Are you doing anything to actually spread the wealth and formalize who is going to come in and become the feedback team, or giving back your question and coaching question?
Well, I must say, I think it's important that we try and get a variety of people in that room, just because when you're presenting, you will have people with a variety of knowledge listening to your presentation. So that, our projects are all fairly similar in some ways, but they're also in different subject matter. So having a wider audience would be helpful.
And people who actually don't know the context itself.
Yeah.
And so we haven't got to the place of formalizing it, but that's exactly what we're wanting to do. We also want to allow people to identify people that they might want that perspective. Because you are asking people to objectively comment on something, but you want that to be a safe space. And so we will, as Katie said, we set up the rooms. If people have, the sooner we know that there are people with presentations, we can start to work with, okay, how would you like to create that experience?
Yeah.
And just one of the things that we need to help people be flexible enthusiastic so they can to perhaps look at this source material and listen to talks. I think that then face is really important, that trust and how to get constructive feedback.
know already, so you're sending a couple of posters, is anybody presenting? At APTO or, FMS? Michelle, have you seen that?
Yeah,
Because last year at NAPGRADE, there were quite, Melissa had some, Rick had some. So if you can go, for those of you, if you can go back to your team and ask them to say, that would be great. And then you try to be proactive about it, would be great.
Yeah, I know Rick's not going this year, but Gina's accepting her award.
Yes. Yes. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks.
Big drive.